All right, welcome back to another podcast. This week we have on the program Christopher Zdenek. He is the CEO, the founder, and the principal designer of Soma Ergonomics. Welcome to the program.
Welcome to thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So your company designs many products, I should say, several products, but I think the core product that you guys really are what you're good at, I think, is chairs. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that's where we started, and definitely our core strength. In many ways, you could say we've led the industry in chair design, uh, unknowingly to the consumer market. Um, but at least 10 companies copied us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Did not
The
know that.
the Herman Miller Embody chair was a riff off of one of our top chairs.
Oh, interesting.
They actually ordered it and had it shipped to their design barn.
And then copied it.
Yeah, after
Wow.
they had a very intelligent physical therapist describe to them what was useful about it.
Sure. So explain to everyone, because many people sit at a desk all day in a chair, my wife included.
Yeah,
And so, as we know now about health and wellness and longevity and mobility, that this is an uncomfortable and an unnatural position for the human body to be in for extended periods of time. You'd agree?
yep.
So where does your story start? Because you were a former architect, I believe, and designing architectural design really isn't that much different from designing a chair, because you're just designing something for functionality, I would imagine. How did your story start? Where'd you get this bug from?
Sure. So as you can imagine, architects sit in chairs for extended periods of time. And the one thing they actually got right is many drafting tables are at an angle, which you look at historical records, the scribes, the monks in monasteries that were doing the beautiful calligraphy, they actually also had tilted work surfaces. What
Interesting.
most people missed and don't see is that their seats were also tilted so that their thighs could slope down.
Interesting.
So that was maybe one of the first times in human history, at least in the last few hundred years, 1,000 years or so, that a human being was faced with the situation of having to sit in one position for a long period of time. And that was a couple of the accommodations that they did and understood. Um, we lost some of that, and I can get into some description of the distinct worldviews and changes in belief structures that human beings go through as our consciousness changes through thousands of years. But to answer your question specifically, you probably know a lot of famous chairs are in museums that are designed by architects. And I knew that. And even one of my friends was doing that at his graduate design project in architecture school. But what then tripped me off to doing this in a really different way is, fateful Christmas dinner at a friend of the family's, and she was a physical therapist at Stanford University, sharing that she was looking to buy a car and how hard it was to find a good car seat. And then, well, these dining room chairs should do this and this, and these living room chairs should do this and this. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. None of the chairs that I'm familiar with do what you're saying. And so as much as architects can, see, you could say, oh, they're just designing another thing for form follows function. So it's very similar. In reality, it's vastly different, because in a chair especially, you have to be an expert in human anatomy. So almost a doctor, at least a really good radiologist, an expert in anatomy, to design a chair that's not going to hurt a human being. And that's what was missing in the entire field of chair design forever. So I don't care what chair you've ever had or sat in, unless it's one of mine, or there's a couple that are okay copies, but most all of them don't know what they're doing because they're just copying. Um, the chair that you've been sitting in is compromising your health in one way or another. And everybody, most of the part, has focused on lower back support as the thing that a chair is supposed to do. And no, it's so much more than that. You can't even comprehend.
Sure.
For starters, what was a lovely gift by the copying, it's one of the companies, they had a researcher research what's so good about a narrow design of a backrest, which ours are. I don't know if you saw them on our website at somaergo.com. They're very hourglass shaped or bowling ball pin shaped. They're designed to not interfere with the shoulder blades. So the upper back, neck, and shoulders are not impinged or interfered with. And so what that allows to happen is a more natural alignment of your upper back, neck, and shoulders. So you're not hunching over, which if most backrests do this, they hit your shoulder blades and they cause you to round out your shoulders. On top of that, you're generally sitting in a 90-degree angle and the seats are generally flat. And that's causing the collapsing of your hips. So that rotation then pushes your lumbar back, and it's like the column is on a bent foundation, and it's causing the column to go back, and then you're correcting by curving your upper back forward.
Sure.
so right away you're all compromised and you don't even know it.
So the longer you're sitting in the chair, the longer you are compensating and not even really knowing that you're compensating. Because I see people, they protrude their necks forward. You see people when they're sitting, they have a tendency to, like you said, rounded shoulders, neck protruding forward. Especially if you're reading a tablet or looking at a computer screen, you have a tendency to protrude your neck forward, your head forward.
Yeah, I consider it similar to, you know, you think all oils are equal, right? And no, a few years ago we discovered, well, vegetable oils, especially when they're heated, turn really toxic. And olive oil, on the other hand, especially a really high quality one that's very high in polyphenols, because, you know, a scientific doctor bothered to look, said, oh, that's actually the magic sauce of a Mediterranean diet to begin with, is this polyphenol content in the olive oil is what actually helps detoxify the body and limit free radical damage. So similarly, you got these very, you know, things that look similar: vegetable oil, olive oil, regular chair, Soma chair. No, they're vastly different, and the effect on you and your health is vastly different.
Sure, we on this program talk a lot about health, and we've been ad nauseum with diet and nutrition. I think there's some nuance to the whole oil debate,
Yeah,
so we'll kind of leave that where it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
But I think it's common that in all things that you're trying to find something, a better solution for yourself.
yeah,
I think you have to look at what has worked long term,
yeah,
and because trends tend to kind of take the headline page, right?
yeah.
So when you talk about chair design, and you mentioned a couple of things about how over time people started to realize that these things were different. What is the main preventing process that keeps everyone else besides your company from making a better chair with these things in mind, the human anatomy and such?
Well,
Cost?
most people don't get into a really deep understanding of anatomy. They
Sure.
really don't.
But they don't want to because they don't want to serve the customer, or the cost is going to be very high for a chair. Because I think the consumers are willing to spend $100, a little bit over $100 on a really decent chair. If they sit in it and the first thing they do, they sit in it right now. Oh, this feels very comfortable. Well, is it is it functional? That's what we really want to ask, right?
Yeah.
But is someone going to spend $400 on a chair?
Yeah, or 700 or 1200,
Sure.
which, you know, some of those nicer chairs, that's what they're costing. There's plenty of people buying them.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that the main determining factor of what prevents these other companies from bringing someone in like yourself, or someone who has human anatomy and chair design expertise, and bring them in and say, hey, let's design a better chair?
you know how things are. Human beings are creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
And so there's inertia, and this is the way we do things.
Yeah.
So
Right.
our numbers are good. Why would we change it?
Sure. Yeah. If we're
And,
selling a lot of chairs, why do we need to make the chair better? We're already selling a lot of chairs.
and on top of that, the customer, this is what they asked for because our marketing was so good, it guided them to make that decision. So
Yeah.
they're not, why would we question anything when we don't have to?
Sure. Well, you
Yeah.
mentioned the lumbar support, and I know when that came into kind of manufacturing,
Yeah.
that was all the rage, right? You got to have that lower lumbar support.
Yeah.
I, for one, hate a protruding lumbar on any chair. The car chair, I
Yeah.
hate that. My wife loves it.
Yeah.
Is that is that a component of better stability and better functionality as far as sitting in a chair? Is that just one component, or what are your thoughts on like the lumbar part of it? Is that necessary or not?
Sure. There's three specific things.
Okay.
One is going to be the contouring and shaping of the seat and how it positions your hips. Because if your hips are positioned correctly, more like how when we're standing, the spine naturally aligns itself to how it should be aligned for you. Now, some people, if you go through 1,000 x-rays, have very curved lower spines and flat upper spines, or very curved upper spines and flat lower spines, or both are curved or both are flat. And so the mental model of a perfect S curve, you just demonstrated it's a fallacy. It's not useful. So
Yeah.
you probably have a lower back that's flatter. Your wife's has a deeper curve. So the pushing in of the lumbar on your back is irritating. To her, it feels great.
Gotcha.
So you really want to set your lower spine in a good position by setting up your hips right. And that usually is done better by having a good sacral support, which is the bony part at the base of the spine. That's really where you want something stopping and holding your lower back. Not up higher where the curve is, but down lower where the bony part of the base of the spine is. Because then your hip is held and you're upright.
Sure.
Then the second part is going to be, or the third part, so that was the shape of the seat, setting of the hips, the sacral support, stabilizing the lower spine, and then the narrowness of the back, or the having it below the shoulder blades so that it doesn't interfere with your upper shoulder blades. That sets up the alignment of your neck and your shoulders. The width is also important because if your backrest is too wide or your armrests are too high and interfering with you, you're going to basically hike up your shoulders to hold up your arms. and nobody's paying you to do all that muscle contraction.
Sure. And that's all inflammation and fatigue in other muscles, because it takes other muscles to hold those shoulders up besides just the shoulder muscles.
Yeah, and so some of the detriments of that, the squeezing of the muscles in the shoulders, in the neck, upper chest area, it reduces the blood flow to your arms, wrists, and hands, is one thing that the doctors discovered. And another part is the misalignment. If you start sitting like this, which
Yeah.
is a really common thing, if you look at Bill Gates, he's
Protruding
permanently
his
like
neck
this.
forward.
Same with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That misalignment of the spine, if you talk to experts of the neck, the cervical area, like the atlas is called, it's like a central processing unit of nerve system connections there. Very bad to have that be misaligned and compromised.
Yeah.
But it also interferes with the alignment and the spacing between the collarbone and the first rib and the blood flow to your brain. So you're literally starving your forebrain for oxygen and
Sure.
other nutrients.
Well, it's, like we always talk about, I think, in this health space, is that I'm a firm believer that any pain or any discomfort or any dysfunction that you're feeling is not getting old. It's not just age. It is something that you're doing, consuming, eating, sitting wrong, walking wrong, standing wrong, all these different things that are causing dysfunction in the system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's the
sitting's no
best way to
different,
look at it.
really.
Absolutely the best way to look at it. So
Yeah.
then it's just having the motivation and the curiosity to search deep enough that maybe, breaking standard ways of thinking to find what it is, find the root
Exactly.
cause, the foundational principle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, being willing to, investigate and try different things and being willing to look outside the box, as they say, because, someone has neck pain, they say, and then we work with people where it's like, you have back pain. Okay, well, there's something wrong with my back. No, let's look what's going on with your hips. What's going on with the tightness in your lower body? Because that can be traveling up the chain. It could be going all the way up to the shoulder, actually.
Yeah.
You could have poor hip strength and mobility, and that could be traveling all the way into the shoulder.
Yeah, an excellent example of that. One of the medical groups that I work with, they used biofeedback of the muscle sensing variety, SEMG it's called. And one patient had come in with complaints about tight muscles in the mid back. And the doctor ended up tracing it to clenching of muscles in the stomach, solar plexus area,
Wow, interesting.
but only because he had the sensors and he was open minded and he had that drive to be curious. Did he trace things around and eventually locate it to that? So once they dealt with that tension in that area, the mid back muscle pain disappeared.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we talk about a lot with a lot of other guests on this program is that you have to treat the body as a whole unit, not as individual compartments. Like
Yeah.
everything works in synergy with everything else.
Yeah. The other thing about the narrow backrests that our chairs have is it allows the whole upper thoracic cage lung area to be open. So I have a very narrow back I'm sitting in now, and I recline it back a little bit. So gravity becomes my friend and it's pushing my shoulders back rather than sitting really upright and hunching them forward. Right. So I'm
Right.
constantly in this open area. It makes it really easy for my body to have deep diaphragmatic breaths that if you study anatomy, you go, oh, that puts your body into a parasympathetic nervous system state. That reduces cortisol. You do that deep breathing rhythmically enough, it also enhances alpha brain waves, which enhance your creativity. It's that's how much impact and influence it has.
Yeah, and if you're sitting at a desk all day crunching numbers or using a lot of brain activity, which most people are, I mean, reading and deciphering and doing all these things at an office job, that's all going to be helpful to you in your career for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. We make the joke that if you want to win, you breathe well.
I like that. I like that. Let's talk real quick. You have some couple of terminology on the website, uh, bionomics and open system seating. Why don't you just touch on those couple of topics quick? Kind of explain to people what those are so they understand.
Sure. Both are kind of a result of my very creative, curious, expansive mind that is never happy with, like, here we are at A. It's like, I want to know, well, what created A, B, C, D, E, and F? And
Yeah.
so ergonomics literally means laws for work from the two Greek root words. Bionomics is laws for life. And I went to that because we aren't just work machines. And like you said, everything's connected.
Yeah.
So when we were helping people, because we started really like pharmacists, almost dispensing chairs that were custom made for individual people that were injured for their really smart, picky doctors. So our chairs were designed for like the worst case scenario in that anatomical dysfunction. Well, obviously it's going to be supremely good for anybody because
Yeah.
it's the same anatomy for all human beings. But, obviously we're different sizes, different contours. So part of the open system thing was having an open system of components so we could put together a million different configurations of chairs with different contours and sizes and curvatures to fit each individual person. You don't need that for kind of your average person as much, but when you've got injured people or very distinctly different sizes of people, really, really important, makes all the difference in the world. Most women suffer greatly in chairs because they're mostly designed by men that are larger. And many women, they never touch the backrest because the seat's so big, their back of their knees touches the front of the seat before they can reach the back. And they're sitting there in a chair without back support all day long. They're bracing to hold themselves up. That tension refers up to their upper back, neck, and shoulders, and they're walking around with knots in their shoulders all day and then migraine headaches or sciatica down their legs because the muscles are never letting go. So anyway,
Awesome.
Bionomics is 4 quadrants. One is that whole awareness of your internal state, what your muscle tension is in all the parts of your body. That kind of comes from that insight from biofeedback. Then another is just everything you're inputting in you, what you eat, what you drink, toxins, not toxins, inflammatory, creating foods or not. And then another is sleep. Super important, not only how you sleep, but, and we ended up designing beds, which I didn't release to the public because the cutting off of blood flow to the arms happens to most people every night, especially if they're side sleepers, which is compromising blood flow. And so having a bed and a posture while you sleep and enough sleep, matching circadian rhythms and all that good stuff. Also, huge effect on whether you're going to develop a repetitive strain injury at work, for example.
Sure.
We look at, we try to educate people, look at all these different parts of your life and get one of our chairs. And all together, all those things are going to really result in you having more energy, more focus, more mental clarity, more health, the prevention of what we it's termed metabolic shutdown syndrome. So that's one of the real detriments of being sedentary, not moving for long periods of time. X number of micro motions a minute less than a threshold, your body starts to shut down. That's where you can get to weight gain and glucose spikes and all of that. So it has an impact on diabetes development. So having a chair that makes it really easy to move around, or a seat that actually flexes and moves. We have some that are split seats and each half moves, so that you have built into your chair design movement without you having to get up. Also, the type of mechanism, whether it rocks or doesn't rock, all those things make a big difference. So yeah, the open system is 3 parts. One was that open system of components. The other was having an open thoracic cage area, like I said, so you can have deeper breathing and the muscles here in the front of your chest aren't so short that they're compressing and closing up your upper back. And then your thigh torso angle, that your legs are sloping down a little bit. So you have more of about 127-degree angle between your torso and your thighs is better for digestion, circulation of the feet, all of that. So those are Bionomics and open systems.
Excellent. Well, when I did dig into the information, it's quite the customization. I don't think I've ever seen this much customization for a chair or any really any product. Really, to be honest with you, you have
Yeah.
7 different sizes, 21 backrests, 4 cushions, 6 height ranges, 8 armrest options. Um, this is a quite a personalized product if you want it to be that, because you have the standard and then you have the custom, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, explain that real quick. I'm sure people would be helpful with
Sure.
that.
Like I said, we started like pharmacists, literally taking the chemicals, mixing them
Yeah.
together, making the prescription. And so it was all the parts like a periodic table of elements you learn in chemistry,
Yeah.
but this is a periodic table of chair parts.
Sure.
We put them together. And like I said, it's essential for when you're dealing with really injured people, whether they had a car accident or they had scoliosis or they just worked themselves to the bone. They ignored their bodies. They were the tough guy or woman. One of the classic cases was a senior vice president at a Fortune 100 corporation, favorite of the CEO, walked down the hallway, coffee cup fell right out of her hand. She couldn't hold her coffee cup anymore. She'd
Wow.
ignored the body signals for so long that that's what happened. So, workers' comp claim, loss of work. What am I going to do with myself? She got lucky. She met that medical group. That's why I know this story. And they were able to identify the muscle tension in her shoulders, teach her how to do her mousing, her typing, her writing, her everything, driving without the muscle tension in her shoulders. symptoms were able to subside, recovery, success, happiness, all good.
No, and that's the beauty of this human body is that it can work properly, but if you are putting it in a state of stress in some area, it will show up at some point in time.
Yeah. So over the years, obviously, we figured out, okay, this shape and size of seat, this shape and type of backrest works really well for your average person. So that's why we have like a Soma Fit or a Soma Contour, standard models, small, medium, and large. That's for 75% of the population. If they get the size right, small, medium, large, they can choose if they have armrests or not based on what type of work they do. They can just get a standard chair. They don't have to worry about all those components.
Sure. Well, what I really liked about it is that you had some like fitting guides on the website. There was a couple of different fitting guides so that you can, if you did want to go the custom hole route, and is that part of the standard route too?
Yeah, because I mean, if you're just going to buy a chair off our website, you
Yeah.
can go onto the how to buy tab, I think, and there's a little
Yeah.
thing, special offers and get a drop down menu, different chairs. It's just like walking into Staples.
Sure.
Oh, there's 25 chairs. Which one do I pick? I don't know.
Right. Well, that's where I think the beauty of your fitting guides come into play because I think you can explain the fitting guides because there's two on there. There's the chair fitting checklist, and then there's one I think it's called the remote chair fitting form. What are
Yeah,
the difference between those two PDFs?
yeah, sure. The chair fitting one is more for your average person. They don't got any major issues. They just want to feel, they want to spend their money wisely. They don't want to make a stupid purchase and then go, oops.
Sure.
So yeah, they make sure the seat size is the right depth. They make sure they know the length of their thighs, the height, and all of that, the width, and they identify their work style. Really, really important issue. Don't buy a chair unless you know what your work style is. In general, they break down to the two options: the standard secretarial posture, 90-degree angle, sit upright, look at the screen, don't ever look at the keyboard. Nice straight posture, right? There's some people anatomically they can't do that, or training wise they can't do that. They look at the keyboard constantly. Their lower back and hamstrings are too tight, so they tend to slouch and recline. Coincidentally, that kind of divides. Often women sit upright because their tendons and ligaments are tied together differently, so they can do that 90-degree angle without the same stress as men, whose tendons and ligaments in our whole pelvic region are tied together differently. That we tend to like to have the more open body angle, which translates into slouching, quote unquote. It's just the body trying to take that tension off the tendons and ligaments. So, knowing which work style you have will determine what backrest, if a low one or a mid back one or a tall one. If you're sitting a short period of time or a long period of time, there's a real benefit in reclining on a regular basis. 15-degree recline will take like 80-90% of the gravity load off of the lower spinal discs, so those can stretch out. That can help prevent sciatica, blood flow issues, all that kind of thing. So that's what you learn out of the fitting guide itself. The remote fitting form is more for people who are more compromised in some sort of pain or accident they had or genetic issue they've had, and they get personal assistance from us, and we talk them through and we ask them more questions, so we dial in real specifically to what will work for them. And it's almost like them calling a pharmacist or doctor and having the diagnosis done, and then we give them the prescription. Here's the chair that'll work best for you based on the information they provide in the remote fitting form to us.
Excellent. So basically one is more thorough, obviously, than the other one.
Yeah, I just did that yesterday for a woman, or day before yesterday for a woman in Toronto, Canada. Um, a group of people that you could say are power users of chairs that have in their industry as a whole a horrendously tragic level of injury is court reporters or stenographers,
Oh yeah.
right? They're like the power users of typing, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And some of them within 2-3 years of their career, they're done. they've wiped out their wrists, their arms, their hands, whatever, and they can't even work anymore. They have to have severe surgeries. Really, really sad. But yeah, so she was really concerned, wanted to make sure she got the right thing. So she was ideally looking for a place where she could try the chair out and sit in it. And, COVID kind of killed a lot of the places where you can go try chairs out because
Yeah.
people just buy them online. So this whole remote fitting form process helps with that tremendously. And with all the knowledge that I have, I've literally helped tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people over 30 years of time.
Wow. What's the success rate of this remote fitting? Is pretty high that, you design a chair specifically for this person. They've filled out all the forms. You've kind of went through them, what their needs are and everything.
Yeah.
Send them a chair. How often are we talking about someone saying, yeah, something's still not quite right? And how do you guys handle that?
We've got easily 95 to 99% success rate.
Wow.
And originally we didn't think it would work because we always had a showroom ourselves because we found like trying a chair when you're doing it well, it's kind of like trying on a pair of shoes. You don't really know if the shoe's good until you've tried like 4 or 5 of them.
Sure.
And then you notice, well, that one's really good.
Yeah.
And that one pinched me here and that one did this. And, same thing with the chair. But yeah, with asking the right questions and understanding the person really well and getting them to be more aware of themselves, we get pretty good at it. And
Yeah.
then the chairs are modular. So if something's not working, we replace a part. I mean, maybe 0.5% of the time, we just can't get it right and they return the chair. It's a restocking fee if it was a custom chair. If it was a standard chair, they just pay for the return shipping.
Sure. But if they're talking like things backrest and things like that, it's like, okay, well, let's tweak that and we'll send you a different backrest and try this out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said something about shoes that kind of made me chuckle because, you know, we try on shoes at the store and we walk backwards and, couple laps forward and backwards, like, oh, this shoe feels really good. We don't run in them. We don't stand on them for 8 hours to try them out, right? You don't really get that full
Right.
trying out of the product. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And then there's just your base awareness of what your foot alignment does to your legs and your lower back and your whole posture and physiology as a whole.
Absolutely.
And what's the pro and con of actually having a shoe that allows you to feel and be like you're barefoot with your toes spread out and all the muscles engaged versus, everything's all overstructured and overheld.
Yeah, very. I find that the more flatter athletic shoes I wear, the better my feet, knees, hips, everything feel than the really super cushiony, you know, air ones and with all the extra cushion at the heel. Those don't ever really feel right to me.
Yeah. And so from architecture, a really popular phrase besides form follows function
Yeah,
is the term less is more.
absolutely.
And, some chairs, I actually joke that they're like McMansions, right?
Yeah,
They're great for the contractor or they're great for the chair maker because they got to charge you a whole bunch for this giant monstrosity of a thing, but it's really not good for your body.
sure. Absolutely, absolutely. Do you find that do you sell to a lot of companies like a company that has 200 employees and they want to help them have better chairs? You guys work with a lot of companies then?
Yeah, that's why most people don't know about us, and we never decided until now to have more of a presence in the market and consumers. And I apologize to everybody that in April of 2020 I didn't get online and do a lot of PR to educate America and the world on how to set up their home offices so they could have chairs in home offices that enhanced their health rather than compromised it when they were all quarantined. So my apologies that I didn't do that.
Well, you're doing it now, so that's the good thing. It's never too late.
Yeah, but the whole is more thing. Like I said, that narrow backrest, armrests that are low out of your way. Your nature is not stupid. There's a reason we're designed the way that we are because
Yeah.
it worked and it works. So artificially coming up with mental ideas in our heads of, oh, we should modify it this way or that way. be really careful with that, because sometimes we get it right, but very often we get it wrong. And that's one of the reasons my chair design is great, and I continue to evolve it at times, because I'm constantly doing my best to discern more minute detail on the functioning of the body. Tension held in the fascia, blood flow in the microcapillaries. Product designers don't go there.
Right.
As a rule.
Yeah, my whole space here has really been morphing more towards functionality, mobility, and those type of things, as a real drastic way to improve the whole organism, as we talk about. Because, like you said, it's all these things. You see a lot of people with upper thoracic tension these days. Like that's a prime complaint of most people. Would you say?
Absolutely, 100%. And they should all, I'm hoping as many of them as possible get to know me and I can help them, because that's the primary thing that our chairs and the knowledge that we impart to people helps them with. We actually, and going back to your question about do we help companies? Yeah, that's like we started helping Yahoo, for example, from the time they were 100 people before they went public on through for, many years and thousands of chairs.
Wow.
And what was interesting is that somebody in facilities popularized the idea of setting their workstations up high, so when they came up to them, they could work at them standing. So this was way before height adjustable desks became popular. And over time, and we ended up having height adjustable desks in like 97 when nobody cared and nobody knew about them, right?
Yeah.
So I gave up on them. I could have sold hundreds of thousands of them to people, if I bothered to keep doing that. But the brilliant thing about having your desk at standing height permanently is it's like not having sugar around your house and having healthy food around your house. It automatically makes you do the healthy thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it automatically keeps you in a place of being more in motion. So they would put all their chairs as like drafting height chairs that you would hop onto and have a footrest, because you can stand. It's kind of healthy to stand for 15, 20 minutes. After that, it's really starting to do similar sort of compromising things that sitting for a long period of time would do.
Absolutely.
So what we discovered was kind of like a 20-minute rotation, kept our energy, focus, body fatigue at bay and optimized. We'd sit upright for 20 minutes, then we'd start to feel kind of like, I'm going to recline for 20 minutes, get the pressure off my lower spine. And then I'm like, my butt's feeling a little bit, my body's just feeling a little stodgy. I'm going to stand. Great. Stand for 20 minutes. I'm reinvigorated. Oh, my feet I can feel the pressure, the strain, whatever. I'm going to sit again. And you just do that all day and you're set.
Interesting. Oh, it's great advice. All right, Christopher, I really appreciate you being on the program. I really like the product just from looking at it online because of the complete customization of it, and I think it addresses pretty much everything that I've ever heard anyone complain about from sitting all day long. So I think it's a great product. Why don't you wrap up here with all the places where people can find this and find the information where they can contact you and get some help?
Sure. Somaergo.com, SOMAERGO.com. And otherwise, there's how to reach us or how to buy. There's contact, email, phone number in there. So that's really easy. We do have a few resellers that are out there still. You can do a search online for Soma Ergonomics, and that's easy to find us. But so people kind of have an understanding of the impact of this. There was one company we were brought in to help that had 3,200 employees. They ended up spending about $220,000 on chairs and some keyboard trays and some training. They ended up reducing their workers' comp claim levels from $3 million a year to $1 million a year. That ended up being about an 820% return on investment. And the funny thing was some of the employees actually considered the ergonomic medical group and us to be like ergonomic Nazis because we were forcing them to change their habits. And they would sheepishly then come to us later and go, "Oh, I was so against you and thought you were so bad, but I've never felt better in my life. Thank you so much." So it was very personal and, corporate dollar and cent benefit that is very unknown to most companies and people. They think ergonomics is just for injured people or just a way to limit loss mitigation, get rid of the injured people, prevent us from lawsuits or protect us from lawsuits as a company, and we're good to go. But the performance enhancement, productivity sort of thing, just and well-being just can't be underestimated. It's really, really great. People really will love it. It's like usually when people try our chairs, we kind of damage them. They can never go back to the regular things they used to sit in.
Yeah, everywhere else they sit, they're like, "Oh my god, this chair is terrible."
Yeah, because then you're like, it's like
Because now you
once
feel it.
you can't go back.
It's like with healthy eating too. You eat something, start eating really, really healthy. You go back to eat something that you used to eat in the past, and you're like, "Oh my god, how did I ever eat this?"
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
Well, and the thing that you mentioned about the cost effective nature of it for the company is obviously, well documented. But for the human being too, the consumer who's just going to buy a chair from you because you're taking away all these doctor visits, you're taking away these procedures and medications and all these things to try to get rid of dysfunction that really is just stemming from you just need a much better designed chair.
Yeah, one of the stenographers that we got a chair for and help, her testimonial was, "You're never going to believe this. This is so great. I don't have to get Botox injections in my shoulders anymore."
Okay. Well, that was probably pricey.
Yeah, she saved a fortune. But that's how much she was chronically holding stress in her shoulders and how painful it was and damaging. And that was
Absolutely.
relieved. So, yeah.
Oh, great stuff, my friend. Well, thank you so much, Christopher Zdenek, Soma Ergonomics, and check out the website. We'll have all the information down in the description box as well, and you can contact Chris and his team, and can get yourself back to better health.
Yeah, and for people that are members or listeners of your podcast, we're going to provide you a link where they can get a 40% discount. We like to help people as much as possible, and you can put
Excellent.
that on your webpage or with the link of that, and it'll be what it is. All right.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. All right, Christopher, thank you so much for being on the program, and thank you for getting out there and helping people and doing the good work for us.
Yeah, good health and well-being to you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, make it a great day. Bye.